Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Jake. I've been a construction estimator for over 20 years, and throughout my career, I've helped companies win work in projects worth over billions of dollars. Today, I run my own estimating consulting firm, helping companies prepare competitive bids and win more work. In my first two videos, we talked about career differences between estimating and project management and the key qualities that make a good estimator. Today, I want to talk about how to improve as an estimator. This would apply to all types of estimating, not just construction and infrastructure type estimates. In my mind, the main thing you need to be tracking is win rate. Now, this win rate could be based off of number of bids won versus number of bids submitted. Or it could be a dollar amount of how many dollar value you won versus how many dollar value you've submitted. To me, since I do a whole range of different estimate and values, so I would prefer tracking it in the dollar value. This way, if I'm winning a lot of small bids and it doesn't skew that win rate. But if you do a lot of bids that are very similar in value, it doesn't make any difference. Then just track the number of bids you won versus the bids you submit. It's good enough. What you do want is you do want to track this percentage. That way you can see that, hey, I'm actually improving. The worst thing you can do is just keep bidding and bidding and bidding, and you're just not winning, but you're not really understanding why. But now that you have this metric to track against, then you can actually go and look at ways to improve, right? Now there's multiple different ways you can improve this win rate. For me, I'm just going to go talk about a few of them, like three of them in this video. Mainly is to do with just getting feedback from the client, getting kind of feedback of how the market's doing in terms of where your competitors are actually at, where they're building, and that sort. So let me dive right in and kind of go through these topics and give you some examples. So first off is just post tender feedback. Like I said before, this is kind of where you need to build that relationship during the tender phase. So during the tender phase, when you make that email or you call them to ask questions, the client is definitely more obligated to answer those questions so that they know that you will submit a quality proposal. But after, when you already submitted the tender or your proposal, the client a lot of times would just, there are a lot of times, I mean they just ghost you. They would not answer your emails or answer your phone calls. Now this is where the for me in the beginning of my career, I would kind of just kind of ignore it and be like, oh well, they don't want to answer, that's fine, and they don't want to give me feedback. But now, now with my experience now, I feel like that's actually not, you can actually ask for this feedback. I think you should demand it. So what happens is the next time they send you an RFP, at that point you talk to them. Be like, hey, the last submission I sent over to you, can you give me some feedback? See, this is where you can use this opportunity where they do need you to actually do an estimate and do a proposal for them, but it's a separate piece. But you're pretty much putting them on the spot where they're now obligated to give you this answer, or else you can always say, well, I don't feel like, we're too busy or whatever. You give them a random excuse at the time and be like, well, if we didn't get any feedback, you didn't come and ask us any questions, it didn't feel like we're ever in the running, I guess, to do that work. And other times, like, clients do send out a lot of proposals, but they already know the one or two vendors that they like to work with, and a lot of times they might be just shopping your number, right? So I think a lot of times you do need to push back a little, and that this also builds that relationship, because then at the end of the day, they understand that, hey, they're asking you to do work for them in some ways, because they're not paying you or your employer to go and do this proposal. And of course it is work down the road. They If you win the work, you get paid that way. Um but yeah, in some ways, the worst case scenario would be you going and constantly bidding for work for this one client and never getting any feedback, and just constantly doing these bids, and then they're just shopping your numbers, and and yeah, like you'll never win work from them anyways. So at that point, it's like, do you rather get that feedback now, and maybe you, by saying this, you piss off the client, and the client now doesn't ask you to bid their work, which again, like if they're never going to award the work to you, you might as well just stop that relationship and work on other clients that will award that work to you, right? Anyways, let's go to when they actually do answer your calls, what kind of stuff I ask about, right? The key question I always ask is like, how many bidders did you get? How many proposals did you get? So pretty much, you're trying to gauge how connected these clients are. Some clients are not that connected in your work area. Maybe they're new and they just don't know a lot of the vendors. Maybe just that kind of stuff. So you want to know that, or the other way, it could be where maybe the market's too hot, other bidders don't want to bid it, and therefore, like, you can see that, hey, the client only got three bids, and or something like that. So you want to understand that right away. Most clients would give you that answer. I don't know why. Like every time I ask that question, I've never been refused to tell me. They've never refused to tell me how many bidders that they got. So yeah. Um, Another question that I ask typically is, have you awarded the work? So this actually has has two um, pieces of information I want from it, because if they tell me that they awarded the work, that means like like they're probably setting up, so now kind of, you bid the work already, so you kind of know when they're going to be scheduling this work to commence. And uh and yeah, hopefully at that point you would then schedule yourself or someone to go in there and just take a look and see who won that work. Most of the time, they're not going to tell you at this point, like who was awarded. Typically, they're still probably on an NOA, like notice to award, notice intent to award, uh, and therefore it's not a done deal per se, but it's pretty much a done deal usually. But until they get the contract signed, typically they're not going to disclose this information. So just understand that they actually can't tell you. It's just the nature of the way the contract would be, right? So don't push too hard on it. You're gonna find out anyways when you drive out there and to that site and you find out who's actually building that work. So don't need to push that, but like, yeah, ask if they're awarding that work, awarded that work already. And I would typically try to ask if now that also is a question that they typically tell you right away. Like, they don't try to hide it. Either they awarded or they didn't. They would tell you, and they would tell you kind of a time frame too. If you ask them, hey, when do you plan to award? They'll tell you a time frame as well. And typically never had a case where they don't answer that question. Now the main question you really want to find out is, hey, where were you? Were you second low? Were you way high? What kind of percentages you were compared to the low? All those questions. Now that's the question typically I don't always get an answer to. I find like maybe 10 to maybe 20% of the time I would get an answer. And but hey, if you don't ask, you're never gonna get, right. So there's no harm in trying to ask. And a lot of times, like, you need to build that relationship with the client, and eventually, hopefully, hopefully you'll get there. But it's a tough one. Like I understand, a lot of times they just don't want to give this feedback, and yeah, it's a tough one. But when you get that feedback, that's huge information for you to then look at. Hey, we're like like is a like then you can actually see, hey, if our markup was 20% or 10% or whatever like that, you can then look at, hey, we're like maybe the other guys either found an easier way to do the work, maybe they missed something in their proposal, uh or maybe they're just really hungry for work and they they marked it up really low. Like all that stuff you do need to find out uh where you were compared to the low bid, or else you wouldn't understand. You just know you're not low. Uh, uh, I think maybe maybe a little bit higher, maybe 25% of the time, the client might tell you where you are versus the ranking of the bids. Say there's 9 bids, and you ask them, was I third? Were you fourth? You know, sometimes they'll give you that ranking, and but yeah, very rarely. I think I only had like maybe one client that always tells me what my percentages are versus the low. It's a tough one to get, but if you can build that relationship, that is your breadwinner there. Then every time that client asks you to bid something, you should bid it so that you can get more data. Um, so yeah, so that's that. Um, Another thing that I typically do is I talk to my vendors to ask them about who who are the other contractors that ask them for a quote. So this is a good scenario in my specific scenario is like the gravel suppliers, the stormwater treatment suppliers, um, uh, maybe pipe supply, like those guys for a specific job. They're the only vendors, or a group of vendors that would be uh, available for the contractor to get a quote. And say most of the time, every job's gonna need some gravel, some pipe, and all this other stuff for infrastructure. So then for me to figure out, hey, who am I competing against? If I have a good relationship, say for instance with this stormwater treatment company, then I can ask this rep, hey, who else are you bidding to? And they might tell me XYZ company is also bidding this work. And therefore now I know, hey, I'm competing against maybe 5 guys or 6 guys or whatever like that. And and these are my main competitors. I would know. So this is like a prep work before you submit. In some ways, I'm trying to figure out how many bidders are bidding that work before I even put that proposal and submit that proposal in, right? Um, I find that like uh uh no vendor is going to give you this information right off the bat. You do need to build that relationship with your vendors. You need to, instead of the vendors taking you for lunch, you're the one trying to do that. Another way to look at this is you almost think of it as the other another angle is you also can provide the vendor some information as well, where because you would ask another the other gravel suppliers or the other storm treatment vendors for quotes, right? And maybe you've built a relationship with one or two of these guys, and then now you can share some of the information as well. So like you can let them know, hey, your number is high, your number is low. Now I don't want to share too much as well. I also don't like to share percentages because um if you do that, the word gets out that, hey, if I price to this guy, he's gonna let people know exactly what price they you submitted, which is never good. So you do not want to be giving out too much information, or else you're going to create some bad reputation for your company as well. So there's this fine line, I guess, in terms of that. But you do want to give some feedback so that they know, hey, you're high, or hey, you're low, and so forth. And then that kind of helps build that relationship with the vendor. Say for instance, so let's just give a actual example for this. Uh, with, say for instance, a wheel wash. So this vendor, maybe I got 4 quotes for wheel wash. Two of the vendors I like to work with, and they call back for feedback. I'll be like, okay, yeah, you were third high versus the group of 4 vendors there, and then the next time you you ask them for a quote, you tell them that, hey, last time I gave you some feedback, going forward, can I get some more information from you in terms of who's bidding that work, and and then build that relationship that way, where we kind of share that information, that, hey, you let me know about this, and then I let you know a little bit about that. But of course, you're just trying to build a win-win scenario with them, where you get something, they get something, right? But of course, do not tell them how, other than like the little information that I just talked about. Like, I wouldn't give them too much more, just because, like, you don't want people to tell others that, hey, this guy just tells you exactly what you bid at. That is not a good reputation to have. Um, Now, the third thing that I do is going out to the project sites that I bid at. So then, first off, I already bid the work, so I know exactly what revenue and what is the project costs for these projects. Like, similar costs. Like, of course, every company is going to do things a little bit different. Uh, but I want to track how many jobs this one of my competitor X have going on at the time, right? So typically, like, once a month, you just do a drive, go through a bunch of sites that are still going on, and you just like, okay, hey, they're like maybe 50%, 80% complete, whatever. Just track that out. Uh, there's all this is data. Uh, at the end of the day, what you're trying to do is, you get this data so that the next proposal you submit, you're like, oh, hey, XYZ company, it still has 3 sites going. They How many crews do they usually have? What kind of equipment? Like there are some information that you might have some knowledge of, and with that, plus how much work they are constantly doing, you would understand, hey, how competitive they should be. And all this would just help you in terms of determining what markup you want, and that sort of. So at the end of the day, these are 3 things that I do myself to try to first off get more data, on the client side, so like some tender feedback, and then I try to get some more data on the prep side, going to my vendors, going to job sites that I bid at, so that I get more information in terms of what my competitors are like, or who am I competing against for each job. Uh, with that information, you can figure out, hey, how competitive can I actually bid this work at? Um, Now, at the end of the day, this is all just data. You're just gathering data points, and trying your best to kind of use this data to approximate this stuff. At the end of the day, you're still tracking your win rate, and that is your main tracking. So all this data is just to try to help you get a better win rate. It's not necessarily, like, it's just one way to do this. There's definitely other strategies, like, if there's different ways you can actually do a work, and cut costs. That's probably your best way to have your win rate go better. But I feel like a lot of companies do not do these 3 things. They don't go talk to clients for post tender feedback. Um, they don't ask their vendors about, hey, who else are they bidding to? Like like if you don't have that relationship with your vendor, you need to build that relationship with them, because they they also want you to work with them, because at the end of the day, you're a player in their space, right? They want to work with you, and they they are kind of, in some ways, you have them by the balls. If you don't ask them for a quote, they're going to lose out on work. So they want you to work with them. So make it so that there is a relationship where you both win, right? And then of course, like if you have the capacity, if your employer has the capacity, definitely go out and look at physical job sites and see who where your competitors are working. If you're not doing that, the company, it's yeah, you're not really gauging the market, right? Uh, yeah, so these are the three things that I do myself. Of course, like I said, there's definitely other stuff that you can do. I know it's a lot of information, but at the end of the day, it's um, you're just tracking that one number. So, uh, anyways, please let me know what you think. I know this is kind of a little controversial. Maybe some people really hate giving back feedback and so forth. Think about it this way: even public tenders, there is an obligation for public tenders to give you feedback. So when you submit a public tender, uh, to a city, to yeah, to cities, or government or whatever, uh, there's a process to get that feedback. Once they have awarded, of course, they don't actually they don't schedule that until after, and in that feedback, they're supposed to tell you, uh, like I guess they're all different, but the ones that I experienced, majority of the time, they're supposed to tell you, um, if if you actually qualified for their, sometimes there's like a minimum threshold. So like they'll tell you if you qualify for the minimum threshold. They usually tell you what ranking you were. You would already see, in because it is a public tender. Most of the time, you already see how many proposals were submitted, so you know the number of bidders. But and you also should, majority of the time, public tenders will already tell you what the low bid is, but sometimes they don't. Uh, but yeah, like you already know what the low is, if that's the case, and then with that, you already know what you submitted, so technically you know what the percentages are. But yeah, they would tell you what ranking you are. Um, but a lot of times nowadays, I'm seeing that they don't just grade based on price. Price would be a percentage of the overall grading. Uh, yeah, like a lot of cities don't tell you exact grading, but I've been able to get like a range sometimes from them. So that am I did I pass? Like say for instance, they break out experience as like 35 points, and they'll tell that I've been able to get information where, hey, did I pass on the experience side? Did I pass on the uh uh a lot of times like experience, and then sometimes it's like your proposal would have like maybe 20 points, and then did I pass on that 20? Like did I get 10 or higher on that 20? And so forth. Like little things. If you don't ask, you're never gonna get an answer. They're not gonna try and tell you more information. They probably also have a guideline in terms of what you can say and what they can't. So then a lot, like if they tell you, oh, I can't give you that, it's probably a reason that they can't give you that, but it doesn't hurt to ask, right? For a public tender. Anyways, that's what I mean is even on public tenders, they're obligated to give you feedback. I feel like if you're bidding private work and not even attempting to get feedback, it's just you're just missing that step. You need to do it, so that you can use that data and help improve on your win rate. And yeah, hope you enjoy this video. Hope you learned something. You like this type of content, please like and subscribe. Share this with other estimators that you think might learn or use this information. And yeah, thank you for watching.